All right. Hi, everyone. My name is James Paul Martinez. I'm also known as Johnny Pencil in the industry. But you can call me Sir Paul na lang, in short. I study at Rizal Technological University and I'm an aspiring 2D animator. And I'm a former visual artist back at my high school. I do traditional and digital paintings and drawings, and I'm knowledgeable in both mediums. What I wanted to discuss today is the importance of structure in your artistic learning, primarily about the structure in your drawing and painting, but also a little bit about the structure in the mental aspect of being an artist. I want to discuss six principles that could help you understand better how you could come up with more complex drawings. Usually, these principles are often overlooked. I observed that most beginners or intermediate artists tend to fall into the trap of learning the very basic and quickly moving on to the very complex shapes and advanced learning without actually grasping the fundamentals of forming shapes and structure in their drawings. For example, um, you see this a lot when people just learn the basics of perspective and quickly jumps onto drawing complicated scenes or figure drawings or whatever, like drawing extreme poses and camera angles and such. And now that is important, of course, challenging yourself. But based on my experience, I feel that it would be a lot more easier to draw and learn from a step by step process rather than randomly studying stuff without any clear direction or objective. Well, of course, that applies to any field, of course, when you're studying. It's better to study when you have a step-by-step process that you will follow and that will give you direction and has clear objectives. So before we begin, um, I would last before we begin the discussion, I would like to ask everyone to bow their heads and feel the presence of God for our opening prayer. Almighty Father, we praise and thank you for this day. Watch over us as we go about our work and studies. Help us in every way so that we may become the children you want us to be. Amen. So, for today's discussion, our topic would be the six principles of structure. For this session, we'll have three learning objectives. These are the following. First, the learners should learn the fundamentals of the six principles of structure. Second, the learners should appreciate and make use of the learned principles. And lastly, the learners should demonstrate what they have learned throughout the discussion. So, before we begin, I would like everyone to observe the animated character displayed on the screen. Based on the animated character on the screen, how does the character seem to move and exist within the 3D space? Well done. The character has volume and has mass and it follows the principles of animation. Then, how about what gives it structure in the 3D space? Well done, students. Yes, besides having volume and mass, it follows the rules of perspective and it follows the principle of solid drawing from the 12 principle of animation. So, sir, you might ask, what are the six principles of structure all about? Well, to answer that, the six principles of structure is designed to guide our artistic process by providing structured process on how we should approach drawing in general. Think of it as a set of guidelines on how to approach drawing. So, what do we have here? In this set of principles, we have the following. We have structurization, manipulation, observation, imitation, education, and lastly, imagination. So, sir, what is the first principle all about? Well, the first principle is structuralization. Structuralization involves learning to draw simple shapes like cones, spheres, cylinders, and boxes, and creating spatial awareness, not just copying rules of perspective, but ultimately drawing shapes in space. In other words, structuralization is a principle that concerns the ability of the artist to simplify complex figures. This is the most straightforward for anyone. It is the very basic knowledge of drawing shapes. In this process, we simplify complex real-life objects into simpler shapes that are easy to distinguish and understand. We mechanize parts of a complex object into simple shapes such as boxes, cylinders, cones, and spheres to make it much easier to manage and interpret. This is the principle that is often overlooked. I saw young artists jumping into anatomy without fully understanding the basics of drawing shapes into space. This often results in a lack of mental capability to understand and have spatial awareness from the subject among young artists, which then leads to artists being dependent on references when drawing. And of course, yeah, including me. I won't deny that I too undergo improper development of my spatial awareness pagdating sa pagdodrawing. When I started, I remember when I started my career as an artist, nag-jump agad ako into realism during my time when I was in first year high school. Noong visual arts student pa ako, and based on my personal experience, the learning process is kind of hard to maneuver. Pag nakasanayan mo na talaga yung pagdodrawing using references, yung discovery part ng process is now overthrown ng developed skill mo sa copying ng references, which is hard to resist and manage, lalo na sa tulad ko na tatamad-tamad. Well, anyway, moving on, the next principle after structuralization is manipulation. Sir, what is manipulation all about? Like structuralization, manipulation is often overlooked. Manipulation includes bending, twisting, and manipulating contours of primitive shapes to create more complex and organic shapes. This principle deals with the artist's ability to transform basic shapes into a more natural or organic shape. A good example is the beanie. We utilize the use of twisting, bending, and stretching to achieve the shape of the torso in the human body or anatomy. In this principle, we bend, twist, stretch, and squash shapes to fit the desired shape we are looking for the subject. One way of utilizing the use of manipulation is by transforming primitive shapes, contours. This way, we can make these basic shapes look more interesting and alive and more representative of real life things. The shapes can look very intimidating at first, yes, I know. But if you think about it as a cylinder first, that is just being bent and twisted, and then thinking about how the twisted cylinder is being manipulated, the contours are being manipulated, and then it makes a lot more sense and is much easier for you to internalize and understand how the shape is formed. Think of the neck and the head of a dragon. It's basically made of a cylinder and a cone. By transforming the contour of the shape, we can make the shapes look more organic and realistic. Now, if you can internalize a lot of complex ideas and things that you see and transform them into a more rudimentary yet complex shapes or mannequins, it gives you the versatility you need to be able to create and bring alive complicated figures for your imagination drawing. And then lastly, there's this what we call subtraction and addition. We often use this in manipulating the edges primarily on boxes, cones, and cylinders, wherein we use subtraction to round off the edges. If you can learn how to do this in simple shapes, it will be a lot easier for you to understand complex shapes, especially in hard surface subjects. For instance, if you can learn how to round off the corners of a box using this principle, you'll have a better understanding of how hard surface things like mech designs are being created, because basically it is the same principle. It's just a little bit more advanced when it comes to the way they round off those boxes and the degree in which they do it, or the asymmetry in which they do it to create more interesting shapes. Yes, but again, the principles are exactly the same. It's just taking a primitive shape and then rounding out the corners, or subtracting and adding new shapes that are still, half rounded edges or whatever, or feel a little bit organic to create that interesting shape. If you can look at it like that, you can look at something and try to analyze the shape and ask yourself, what is being manipulated? Not just blindly copying what you see, try to understand what you see. I think that is a very crucial part, because when it comes to anatomy in general, or the human figure, it's almost a given thing. Like, everyone understands that if I want to be able to draw figures better, I need to understand mannequin, and even the complex mannequins or the Bridgman mannequin. But when it comes to other subjects, I feel like it often gets overlooked in terms of understanding what you're actually looking at. And with these manipulated shapes, or just learning to manipulate simple shapes, you'll have a lot more in your tool bag to then look at other shapes randomly in, like, or designs from your favorite artist, and understanding, like, okay, this is what it's being manipulated, what they're trying to do with these shapes, how they come up with that shape, and what makes the shape look interesting. So yeah, shape manipulation is a very big one, and I highly recommend that you try it on simple shapes first before you move on to complex shapes. Moving on, we have the principle of observation. So, sir, what's this principle all about? Observation is about using manipulated shapes to recognize what is being observed, which helps in creating things from imagination and understanding technical details. So, so the way the six step process is put up to is that everything builds onto the last step, or its previous step or principle. So that means, you know, we have the structuralization, and then you can manipulate the structure, and then in the observation part, we can use those manipulated shapes and see how we can recognize what we're looking at, or what we're basically observing. So, so for instance, that means if we're looking at anything like an animal, whether that's a squid, or an alligator, or even a human being, we don't necessarily already need to understand everything about what we are looking at. So that means that we don't need to first educate ourselves about the anatomy or what makes up the subject. We can just simply observe what we are seeing, and through our spatial awareness that we got from the structuralization, from our knowledge of perspective and organic forms, and for manipulation, we can sort of already come up with something that resembles what we're looking at. And I think the crucial thing about this is that it gives you so much power when it comes to making things from imagination, because it's virtually impossible to remember everything when it comes to technical details. And what I mean by technical details is understanding all the anatomy and every animal or even human beings, the anatomy of a human figure. Human anatomy is very complex and you need to be very interested in it in order to remember everything. But if you can mannequinize the things that you see and even not just make a simple mannequin but also make complex mannequins with manipulated shapes, that's still a lot easier to understand. And I think a great example here is an artist like Kim Jong Ji, where I don't believe that all he does is intrinsically know the anatomy of every subject, but he does very much understand the complex manipulated mannequins of the subjects that he studies. And so that gives him the power to then just, draw every subject in different angles from any, in any perspective, because he has that power over the simple shapes which he can manipulate in space. And so, when it comes to observation, a really good exercise is to look at a multitude of references, especially things you want to specialize in, but also things that are outside of your comfort zone. Because learning to draw things outside of your comfort zone will very much help you with things that interest you as well. Again, looking at looking at a lot of references and then trying to mannequinize that reference using more complex shapes, and you can start off with a very basic shape, but then try to learn how to make a more complicated mannequin on those simple forms, right? So again, that's step one. And step two, you look at the reference and you kind of try to figure out what simple shapes that the reference is made up of. Then you try to figure out where those simple shapes are being manipulated. Is there some sort of contour manipulation going on? Is there some addition or subtraction? Are some of the simple shapes being twisted or bent? Or, all these things? Or is it a combination of those? Of course, all these things can help you understand that subject better. If you have a good understanding of what you're looking at, then you can go into the next step, which is education. So, sir, what does education mean here in this context? Education is about learning about subjects that interest the artist, fine-tuning the shapes constructed earlier with anatomy and other relevant details. So, with education, this is exactly what the word implies, is that now we're trying to educate ourselves about things that we really want to know more about. Yeah. And that's also a thing with this sixth step, is that we kind of go from a broad sense to a narrow sense, meaning that from step 1 to step 2 to step 3, this can be very general. This doesn't have to be your subject of interest per se. It's just something that will help you understand more from the spatial awareness and drawing in volumes a lot better. Basically, with structure, right? However, with education, we usually tend to want to learn more about the things that interest us. For me, for instance, that means studying more figures or studying more animals, creatures, insects, vehicles, things like that. The things that really interest me are the things that I'm going to want to learn more about. The cool thing is, though, that because I've been learning from observation with simple manipulated shapes, now the things that I'm learning about, for instance, the anatomy of the human figure or the anatomy of a certain animal, can better inform those manipulated shapes that I was constructing earlier. So that doesn't mean that we're completely reinventing the way that we draw a certain thing just because we're looking at its anatomy. No, it's actually even better fine tuning the shapes that we were constructing before. Now we can have those shapes being formed by the anatomy that we're learning about, and that's why it's usually topics that are close to heart or things that really interest us because now we're now we're really going to fine tune the things that we want to learn more about just to become much better at designing them. So, when it comes to education, we of course pick the subjects that really interest us, learn about them intensively, the anatomy or the packaging of a vehicle, what makes up a vehicle, make a comparison between human anatomy and animal anatomy, especially if I like to draw horses. If I'm a fantasy artist and I want to learn more about horses, of course I want to learn how to draw dragons. If you want to learn how to draw dragons, you need to learn more about bats, like lizards, horses. Again, it's an amalgamation of a lot of animals, but these are still specific subjects that you can learn intensively in order to help that better inform the complex shapes that you have already created, just to fine tune your ideas and to become a better designer. Moving on into step 5, um, which is imitation. So, sir, what do we mean by imitation? Here it says that imitation involves learning from our peers or artists whom we look up to, using their shape, language, ideation, and structuralization in our own design. This is where we actually learn from our peers or the people that we look up to see how they are actually using the all the principles that I've talked about to their advantage, right? So I'm not saying that everyone that you look up to or every artist is using this sort of principle that I'm talking about. But you can definitely use these principles to analyze the artists that you look up to in order to use some of their shape language, some of their ideations, some of just their structuralization into your own design. That will make you a better artist. Sorry, pardon me. I think we sometimes tend to try to cultivate a style too fast. Whereas there's nothing wrong with learning from the people you look up to. Some would even say that, in order to cultivate our own style, we need to have an accumulation of people we look up to, and we need to have imitated those artists. Of course, we're not just going to imitate one artist because then we're just going to be a copycat of that artist. But if we can analyze all the artists that we look up to, and then we can pick a little bit of his or her design, or the way they draw anatomy or the way they design certain vehicles or dragons or whatever. You can analyze those, the structure and the shape manipulation that they are using, and use that to your own advantage. And then finally, we arrived at the last step, which is of course imagination. So as I said before, once we've gone through all the steps and we also imitated or analyzed and studied our favorite artist, we can now try and come up with our own designs. Now, that doesn't mean that you cannot come up with your own design without looking at other artists, no, or even going through this process. But it will definitely help you or inform you to create better designs. So when you have cultivated a vast library of mannequins with more complex shapes, manipulated shapes, and you have studied the artist, you have observed things from life, from references, and you have educated yourself about, anything that interests you. This can all come together and you can create your own designs using all the knowledge that you have cultivated. So I think the most important part here is to just see where you are, because of course there's a big difference between coming up with simple shapes, studying things that you can physically see, and even studying other artists that than it is to create something from scratch, right? It's that old saying of, the fear of the blank canvas, which is, of course, it's very true. Uh, but now that you have all of these things in your tool bag, you can still start constructing ideas just from what you already know, and then see how far you can take this. The other thing that I also want you to know, mention, when it comes to drawing things from imagination, or at least from things that we know or from memory, it's not that straightforward process of going through structure, then observation, education, and imitation. It's very much a intuitive process, so it also needs to be treated as one. And I think that you need to be aware of, when it comes to drawing from imagination, is that we kind of reverse engineer all this that I've just been talking about, meaning that you have necessarily processed something that, because that's actually what we do as concept artists, is we try to solidify the abstract, meaning that we create interesting shapes to the interesting silhouettes, have a certain rhythm, flow, and a certain whole design, and then we try to structuralize the silhouettes or abstractions to create something that is usable and tangible in game or a movie or whatever. So what we tend to do is we tend to make something that is abstractly appealing, but then we reverse engineer a lot of these steps that I've been talking about to solidify that abstraction, to make it, actually tangible and usable and believable. So drawing from imagination does require a whole lot of different sets of skills. I haven't covered in this video, but I just wanted to kind of emphasize the importance of structure when it comes to drawing and painting. It's something that doesn't or shouldn't be overlooked, especially the second step. When it comes to shape manipulation, I feel it is a very important one, which is often overlooked even when it comes to design. I remember I did a workshop once on product design, and I asked the woman in question who was giving the workshop, which is a very famous product designer, how can I become a better designer? And she told me that, have you ever tried to make a simple shape like cylinders and boxes look interesting? Which completely caught me off guard because I never thought of it that way. But she told me, like, if you cannot even make a simple shape look interesting, why bother making complex designs, right? And then there's a lot of truth to that. And I think if you try to learn to draw the simple shapes, the structure, learn to, create spatial awareness, learn about the different perspectives, and things like that, but then try to manipulate those simple shapes with the things that I'm talking about, and a lot of other things that other artists that have already mentioned in the past, just to be able to focus on the task at hand. And if you can create that convincingly, then you will have a lot more confidence moving into more complex subjects like human character, designs, animals. It's still a very much pace off to know the more complex mannequins and be able to do things from imagination. Even if you're using references, sometimes when you're using references, you're still looking at a 2D image. So if you can analyze a reference and understand its more complex shapes and maybe mannequinize it in your head, it will become easier to then paint that, or alter things, certain things that you want to see in your final painting. I think i think Jeffrey Watts famously said once, try to manipulate your reference and not be manipulated by your reference. And I think that's a great quote because it actually means that you need to understand the subjects that you're drawing or painting instead of being manipulated by what you see. And then lastly, what I still want you to know is that structure isn't only, putting things on paper or on canvas. It's also about having structure in your artistic training. So the only way to get better is to have discipline and sense of structure in your training. Whether that's a consistency with what you do or just a regular template of the things that you want to draw, because art is a very challenging endeavor. So a sense of structure in your artistic training is definitely necessary when it comes to becoming more proficient at what you do. I hope this video was at least a bit useful. I hope it gave you some insights into how to think about studying art, especially when it comes to drawing from imagination, and just how you can maybe elevate your drawing or painting education a little bit. All right, thanks.